Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in this video, I'll be playing a solo game of Horizons of Spirit Island, and I'll be playing with the Jagged Earth Spirit, Lure of the Deep Wilderness. Because in this video, I'm showing you how to combine Horizons of Spirit Island with the Spirit Island expansions. Let's get rolling. Alright, so I am set up to play a very unique game of Spirit Island. My intent today is to demonstrate if you had Horizons of Spirit Island and then bought expansions, and specifically Branch and Claw, Feather and Flame, and Jagged Earth, how might you be able to integrate those things? And I did a video a few weeks ago comparing the Horizons of Spirit Island game to the Spirit Island base game, and somebody pointed something out that was pretty interesting. I mentioned if you played Horizons of Spirit Island, even with expansions, you can play at most 3 players because this board is either 2-player side or a 3-player side, and these island boards that came with Jagged Earth don't line up with these, and you wouldn't be able to connect them. And while that's true, Jagged Earth, I forgot, also comes with a variant called Archipelago mode. So I'm going to demonstrate that today, where I've got island board E here and island board H here that are both in play, but they are not physically connected. So just a small correction, and thanks for pointing that out. So if you had, in theory, Horizons of Spirit Island and Jagged Earth, you could play a 5-player game using Archipelago mode. You can flip this board over to the 3 island board side, so it'd have F, G, and H, and then separately you would have these types of boards for E, and then F again. You would duplicate land F. But yeah, that's totally doable. So what I'm doing today is I'm playing with Lure of the Deep Wilderness, who is a moderate complexity spirit who I really like from the Jagged Earth box. And I'm starting here on board E, and then using Archipelago mode, I'm also playing on board H. So it's a 2-board setup, which increases the difficulty. And when you play on 2 boards, you add 1 fear to the blight pool, or 1 fear to the fear pool, rather. And on the board that you do not start on, you don't put any invaders, including during the initial explore, but you put all the Dahan, the blight token, the beast, and the disease, plus any other tokens of that nature. Now, the Jagged Earth expansion does come with these blight tokens, as well as these plastic invader tokens and these types of Dahan tokens as well. So in this scenario that I've laid out, that these are the games that you have, these are the right representations of pieces. I've got the Horizons of Spirit Island invader deck down here, and then in my fear cards, the terror level separators are from Horizons, not the ones from the base game. So I've done my best to demonstrate this accurately. The one thing I did not do is, since all my cards are sleeved, the major and minor power cards from the original base Spirit Island game are nearly identical to those in Horizons. They've just updated some of the wording on the Horizons ones, but I wasn't going to go back and sleeve all the Horizons ones and shuffle them into these decks. So I've got the base game minor and major powers, but they're essentially the same, and nobody's going to notice any difference, including me. Now, one other thing to know when playing with 2 boards, so we've got a blight card here that I've added, again, from one of those games. It's not one of the ones that comes with the base game of Spirit Island, but it comes with one of those other expansions. I don't know which because I haven't looked at it yet. You're not supposed to reveal it. But on the blight card, it says 2 blight per player in the pool, and it's actually 2 blight per board, and then plus 1. That's the correct way to do that. So I've got 5 blight in the blight pool. And then these orange presence tokens here are from the Jagged Earth expansion. So this spirit starts with 2 presence in land 8 and 1 in land 7. So I've got that set up. And then this spirit uses lots of these tokens. So wilds, disease, beasts, and badlands. So it's just going to spam tokens out there. And I think that's really fun. That's one of the reasons I like this spirit. So you'll get to see a lot of tokens in this playthrough. And then I always think of this spirit as being sort of the opposite of oceans, where oceans can only play, in the oceans or on the coast. This spirit can only be inlands, so can never be in a coastal land. And that's going to make this archipelago setup really difficult because, obviously these boards are not touching each other. The way to calculate the range is you just treat the ocean between them as one. So from this mountain to, say, this mountain, they're both coastal. This mountain, I guess, to this sand would be range 1, right? To get to this one, it would be range 1, 2. But I may never, this is one of my special rules, I may never have presence in coastal lands. I can only be in inland lands. So the closest I can get to here is land 5. And then to get a presence over here, because I can't go to the coast, I'll have to go range 1, 2, 3, 4, which luckily is the range that I have in my growth option. So it's going to be really tough to get presence onto that second board, but I will need to do that at some point. Now, the other special rule that I have is for each of my presence in a land, I can ignore up to 2 explorers during the ravage step of any ravage actions. So that's kind of nice. And I've got 2 innate powers. The one on the left uses mostly moon and air, and that one can turn buildings into explorers. So it'll turn a town into 2 explorers or a city into 3 explorers. And then after doing that, you may gather those explorers into one of your lands. So it's got a range of 1. It's a slow power. And then my right innate, which is also slow, can destroy explorers based off of how many of these different types of tokens are in that land, and it'll do some fear generation as well. In fact, they can both generate a little bit of fear, both of those innates. And then I've got some reminder tokens here. So let's get these ready. And my unique power cards are cost of 0 and slow, cost of 1 and slow, cost of 1 and fast, cost of 2 and slow. And these 3 all target an inland land, range 0, 0, and 0. This one just gathers a bunch of stuff. This one does some fear and damage based off the number of tokens in that land. This one does some fear, adds tokens, and pushes to Han. And then this one targets any spirit, so you can target yourself. And then the target spirit either adds tokens to one of their lands or replaces presence with a token. So very token heavy. And then I also have a growth option here that allows you to have either 1 extra moon, 1 extra air, or 1 extra plant element. And so these element markers come with jagged earth. And so I'm just going to put 1 of each of them here where I would store my energy, and then if I ever select that growth option, I'll kind of take it off and put it with my cards so we can more easily track what elements I've got. So I think that's about it. I think I'm ready to get started. This is a spirit that I really like. This setup will be a challenge though. Oh, and that was it. One other quick note. A week or 2 ago, I put out a video where I unboxed Spirit Island Nature Incarnate expansion, and I'm pretty confident that in principle you could include all of that expansion content with Horizons as well. But in real time, I filmed that unboxing like 15 minutes ago. So you won't see, any of those blight cards or major and minor powers events, fear cards. Any of the stuff from that box won't be in here, but I'm very confident you can include it just like I've included the other expansions. All right, so let's do the last step of setup. We need to do an explore action. So we're going to explore in the sands. And when you're using multiple boards like this, you skip the initial explore on the second board. So we don't have to put an explorer here in land 2. So we'll take this sand card, move it down. That's where they're going to build next time. So let's get started with growth. And I think I'm going to so I've got 2 growth options here on the left. I can either reclaim cards and gain an energy, which I have nothing to reclaim, so that'd be silly. Or I can add a presence to an inland land at range 4. And then after I've made that selection, I have 2 choices here on the right. So I can either gain a moon, an air, or a plant element and gain 2 energy, or I can gain a power card. And I think I'm going to start by adding a presence, and I can go up to range 4, and I think I'm going to go right here in this land 5 right in the middle. So in theory, next time I could put a presence on this board over here. And then I'll take this growth option where I gain an element and energy. So let's take the energy, 2 energy, and the element that I want is going to be a moon. So we'll just move the moon over to here for now. And now I gain 2 energy from my track. And obviously I took the presence from that top track there. I think I want to push this one a little bit because there's a moon here, another moon, and then a plant. And those are both really helpful. So I'll be stuck at 1 card play for a while until I get there. Oh, and then there's an air as well after that. So I kind of want some of this stuff on the top. I think it'll make hitting these innates easier. So now that I have done my growth and gotten my energy, I need to play cards. And I can only play 1 card at most. So I'm going to play this one, Softly Beckon Ever Inward. And that's going to cost 2 energy, and it's slow. But it has a moon element and an air element. And I'll just put the other moon here. So I really have 2 moons and an air. which is going to unlock the second level of this left innate. It won't do anything for the right innate. So then we go to the fast phase, but I've only got this slow power card and this slow innate power, so I have nothing fast to do. So then we go to the invader phase, and that now starts with an event. But in the first round, you're supposed to draw an event card and just discard it. Really, you just need to skip the event the first round, but they recommend that you just draw and discard so you don't forget events entirely. So you just are sort of used to drawing one at this point. So we'll start with an event, but we'll just discard it. And then we go to earned fear cards, but we don't have any of those yet. So now we go down here to the invader portion. There is no ravage. We're going to build in the sand. So it's a town here and a town here. And now we're going to explore in the wetlands. That works out kind of nice for me. So these two wetlands get explored, but there's no wetlands on the coast over here, so there's still no explore action over here on the second island board, so that's really going to help. That's going to slow things down over there. So that's it for the invader phase, and now we go to the slow phase, and I have two things I can do. And I'll start with this power, so let's pay this 2 energy, and I can, at range 0 in an inland land, gather up to 2 explorers, gather up to 2 towns, gather up to 2 beasts, and gather up to 2 Dahan. So yeah, that's kind of a lot going on. But let's target this land 7 here. This is going to be great. I'm going to gather this explorer and this explorer, which are going to prevent both of those builds. And then I'll gather this town and this town, so I don't have to worry about those ravages in the sand either. And now I can gather up to 2 beasts, and there's one adjacent. I might as well bring that beast in here. And then I can gather up to 2 Dahan. And I think I will. I think I'll take these 2 Dahan out of this wetlands and pull them in here. I'll leave this one here to take care of that explorer during the ravage. So that was super strong. And now I can do this innate as well. So this second level allows me to replace 1 town with 2 explorers at range 1. I think I'll do that. I'm just going to go here. I'll replace one of these towns with 2 explorers. All right. And then the rules here for this innate read that after this power replaces pieces with explorers, gather any number of those explorers into your lands, and if target land has any towns or cities remaining, 1 fear. So this target land, I turned a town into 2 explorers, and there's still 2 towns remaining, so that gets me 1 fear. So I feel like that was a pretty decent turn. So this is just going to go in the discard pile. This will come back up here. We're in time passes. There's nothing to heal. So now we go back to growth. Let's put that there. So I am going to proceed with placing another presence at range 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go into these wetlands here. It's kind of a tricky board because I can't touch all 3 coasts from one land like I can over here. This mountain, land 5, touches that coastal sand, that coastal mountain, and that coastal jungle. But this wetland touches coastal jungle and sand, but not the mountain. And then this inland jungle touches this coastal mountain and sand, but not this jungle. So I picked this one because it has Dahan, and that's probably a good idea to be in the same land as Dahan. And for my other growth option, I'm going to gain a power card this time. So I don't have a whole lot of energy or energy income, so let's start with minor powers. So take a look at the top 1, 2, 3, 4. And what have we got here? Purifying Flame, Treacherous Waterways, Thriving Choke Fungus, and Dire Metamorphosis. And Dire Metamorphosis is like wacky. That adds a ton of stuff, but it also adds Blight. I don't think I want to play around with Blight. I'm going to take Thriving Choke Fungus. That one's pretty decent. So it's at range 1 from a sacred site. You have to target a jungle or a wetland. And it's slow, but you add 1 disease and 1 badlands. And it's got a moon and a plant, so it'll help me with either one of these innates, which is kind of nice. And so now I've done this growth and this growth, so now I gain 2 energy, and I can play 1 card. And I think I will play this new one, Thriving Choke Fungus, for 1 energy. And so I've got 1 plant, which is not going to be enough for anything on this innate. I've got 1 moon and a second moon up here in my track, so I do get the first level of this left innate. And that one seems a little bit odd at first, so I'll explain it when we get there. But now we go to the fast phase, and again, I have no fast powers. So then we draw an event card. And the first thing this event says is, do you have a healthy island or a blighted island? And we're on a healthy island right now, according to this card. So we have heavy farming. During the next normal ravage, each town does +1 damage. So luckily we're ravaging in the sands this time, and there are no towns in any of the sands, so that won't be a problem. Then this one, prey on the unwary. Each beast destroys 1 explorer, and then add 1 beast on a board without one. Well, both of our boards have beasts, but I can destroy this explorer, and that's fine with me. And lastly is coming of age. On each board, add 1 Dahan to a jungle or wetland with Dahan. And that's pretty nice. So on this board, it would be great to have more Dahan in my land where I'm all built up. I might want to go on the coast though, because that's a land that I can't go to, and maybe it'd be better to have more Dahan there. And then likewise here, I can put 1 in this wetland. That would be nice to have 3 Dahan in the land where I am, but maybe it'd be good to put 1 in this coastal jungle as well. And we'll split the difference. We'll put 1 Dahan here in the coast, and we'll put the other one here inland where I've got a couple Dahan already, because that land is really built up. So that's it for that event. And then again, we have no earned fear cards. So now we go to this portion. So we're going to ravage in all the sands. So these 2 sands are empty. This one, the explorer does 1 damage. So we flip over this Dahan, but that's it. The Dahan is still there. There's no blight to the land. And then the Dahan fight back and does 2 damage to that explorer. So that clears that land. And then in this land, again, 1 damage, and there's no one to fight back. So that explorer just stays there and nothing else happens. So pretty nice as far as a ravage goes. Now we're going to build in the wetlands. Again, this wetland and this wetland are empty, as are both of those. That's fantastic. So we explore now in the jungle. We knew it would be either the jungle or the mountains. So there's going to be an explorer in that coastal jungle. So we're on board H now. An explorer in this jungle, and then another explorer here. So that just really replaces the one that beast ate. So now we can slide these down. That's discarded. They'll ravage in the wetlands and build in the jungle. So we got to watch out for that build because they'll put a city there. So now I can play my slow powers, and this one targets range 1, a jungle or wetland, and is range 1 from a sacred site. I only have 1 sacred site here, so it's going to have to be land 8 or land 7 here. So I guess I'm going to target land 7. That would be smart. And I add 1 disease and 1 badlands. So if you're not familiar, disease tokens right there prevent builds, and badlands tokens just add extra damage when anyone does damage. So when the invaders ravage, they'll do extra damage too. So that's a double-edged sword for sure. So let's get rid of this energy. And then for this innate power, range 1, a land with invaders, I'm going to target at range 1 this jungle. So I can replace 1 explorer with 1 explorer. Now that might seem useless, but again, the idea is after this power replaces a piece with an explorer, gather any number of those explorers into your lands. So it really doesn't replace anything, but it allows me to then gather this explorer into one of my lands. So I'm going to bring this explorer here into this wetlands where they will now ravage, and the Dahan here will fight back and take that explorer out and prevent a build. So that worked out pretty well. So those are my slow powers. So we go to time passes. So this gets discarded, and this Dahan heals. And I think that's it. So now we are starting the next round in the growth phase. And I'm going to place a presence again, but I'm going to take from the bottom track now because I'd really like to get a second card play. It's getting difficult with only 1 card, but I'll start pushing the top track again after this. And so I can go again up to range 4, and maybe I should make a sacred site here actually, because jungles has come up, that's going to be moving down the pipe. And for each presence I have in a land, I can ignore up to 2 explorers during a ravage. So now I can ignore these 2 and these 2. And if I can use a power to turn a town into another couple explorers, maybe I can get another presence down there. I don't know. We'll see. And then for my other growth option, I think I'm going to take 2 energy and an element. So I'm stocking up on energy. Here's 2 energy, and I think I'm going to take a plant. So now we go to this part. So I gain 2 more energy. We'll just make change. Here's a 3, get rid of a 1. And now I can play up to 2 cards. And I'm going to play these 2. So Swallowed by the Wilderness and Gift of the Untamed Wild. So this one's going to cost 1. This one doesn't cost anything, but the elements are really strong for me. So I've got 1 moon on my track and a second moon here, and I've got air. So 2 moon and an air will get me the second tier of this left innate. And then I've got 2 plant plus this third plant. So I've got 3 plant and a fire. So that gets me the first 2 tiers of the right innate. Because the first tier costs 1 fire, 3 plant. The second tier costs 2 plant. So sometimes you get just tier 2 and not tier 1. But I think it feels pretty good to start using both of those innates because they're pretty strong. So now we go to the fast phase, and I do have 1 fast power. So we'll take the energy off of there. Swallowed by the wilderness. So at range 0, I can generate 2 fear and then do 1 damage per token minus strife in that land. So 1 damage per beast, per disease, per wilds, or per badlands, and max of 5 tokens. So if you don't know, there's one other token type here called strife, and this one would not count for this card. Strife represents sort of infighting between the invaders, and so that's sort of out of the realm thematically of this spirit, as all the other tokens are sort of natural. So yeah, let's pick this land here. So first 2 fear, like that, and then 1 damage per those tokens. So I've got 1 beast, 1 disease, 1 badland, so 1 damage each, and then the badland itself adds 1 damage to the top. So that's going to be 4 damage in this land, and I don't know if that could be any better. I'm going to take out both of these towns, 2 damage each, and each one of those generates 1 fear, so that's going to get us a fear card. So we've earned 1 of those, and push those back up. Now that's going to prevent a city from being built as well, so that's really nice. Or I guess there's a disease token there, so a city would not have been built anyway. That's okay. So that's it for my fast powers because my second innate is also slow. So now we need to resolve a fear card, or I'm sorry, an event card. Life's Balance Tilts. So this is the type of event card that has a decision on it. So it starts with a little story and then it gives you a choice. So it says, the energies of life shift towards destruction, bringing wasting and disease to the animals of the island. Death is a part of life, but does this go too far? And then you may either let destruction have its day or fortify the resilience of life. So let destruction have its day says, on each board, remove 1 beast and add 1 disease. Doesn't necessarily say those have to be in the same land. And then for each board, discard the top minor power. If it's fast, add a blight. So that could be a little painful. And then invaders and Dahan each have -1 health to a minimum of 1 this turn. So if I went that route during this Ravage, this Explorer doing 1 damage would actually take out a Dahan instead of just injure 1. So the other option is we could fortify the resilience of life. So the cost is going to be 4 energy per player aided by animal element, and I'll explain that in a minute. And so that would mean on each board we can add 1 beast and remove 1 disease. And then for each board, discard the top minor power. If it is slow, remove 1 blight. And then invaders and Dahan have +1 health for this turn. So I think I like that second option more. So again, it says cost is 4 energy per player aided by animal. So you look at all the cards that you've played and you look at your tracks, and any animal element that you've got counts as 1 towards the energy per player. So to take that option, I have to pay 4 energy. It's 4 energy per player. But I do have 1 animal on this card here. I don't have any on my tracks. So that counts as 1. And then you can also discard a card from your hand that has that element and put it in your discard pile, and that counts as 2 towards that cost. Or you could forget 1 card, so permanently lose 1 card with that element, either from your hand, your played cards, or your discard, and that counts as 4. So I'll tell you what, I've got 1 animal here and an animal here. I'll discard this for 2 more, so that gets me 1, 2, 3, and then I'll just pay the 4th. And that's my cost to take this second option, fortify the resilience of life. So again, on each board, add 1 beast, remove 1 disease. So on this board, I got to remove this disease, and I'll put a beast, I think down here with this 1 lone Dahan. I try and pair them together, so maybe if there's an event, it could be beneficial to either have a beast or a Dahan there. And then on this board, I want to leave this disease. I'm going to take this one away, even though they're going to build there now, and put another beast here, because that'll at least keep the token count up in that land, which can be helpful, at least with this spirit and these cards. And then for each board, discard the top minor power, and if it's slow, remove a blight. So let's do this board first. We discard the top minor power. It's a fast power. We'll do this board next, discard the top minor power. It's a slow power, so we get to remove 1 blight from that island board. And there's only 1 blight there, so I'm going to take it, and it goes back to the Blight pool. So now I've got a little bit more leeway on my pool. And then invaders and Dahan have +1 health for the rest of this turn. So that one was a little bit more involved. It took a little bit longer because I explained everything, but that was the top half of this event. And then there's one piece at the bottom here, 1,000 small struggles. And it says on each board with 4 or more towns or cities and 4 or fewer Dahan, add a blight to a land without Dahan. Neither of these boards is going to qualify. There's only one building in total across both of them. So there's no board with 4 or more towns or cities. And they both have more than 4 Dahan. So I can ignore the rest of this. So we just have to remember, I guess I'll leave it here, that invaders and Dahan have +1 health this turn. So that was the event. Now we resolve any earned fear cards. And we do have one of those. And we are at terror level 1. Whoopsie. There we go. And so this fear card says, at level 1, each player removes 1 explorer or town from a land where it is the only invader. Oh, and that's amazing. I'm going to remove this one so we don't build in that jungle. Yeah, that's great. That was super helpful. Okay. And now we move on to this portion here. So now we're going to ravage in the wetlands. And 8 and 4 are both empty. 7 is empty. So we're just going to ravage here. So this guy's going to do 1 damage. And the Dahan has +1 health. So I'll flip one over to show that it's taken 1 hit, but it's got 2 hits left. And then there's no blight. The Dahan fight back, so they do 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. This guy's got 2 health, so this guy's gone. So we're actually holding up pretty well. I shouldn't need this reminder anymore now the ravage is over. So we're going to build in the jungles, and we're empty, 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 and we're going to build a town here. All right, I can live with that. Then we explore. Oh, in the jungles. So that's always a little rough when you get the same land back to back, but I'm in pretty decent shape, so I'm not too worried. So we'll put another explore in this jungle, 1 here, and 1 here because it's a coast. But this one does not explore because it's not a coast and it's not adjacent to any buildings. So now we can shift these down. I don't know if you're supposed to shift those in the time passes phase. I like to just do it right away before I forget. And now we go to the slow phase, and I've got this power and both of my innates. And so I'm going to start with this left innate, and I've got the second level, so I can replace 1 town with 2 explorers. And so I'm going to target this town right here and replace that with 2 explorers. So we are really loaded up with explorers now. And there are no buildings left in that land, so I don't get any fear. I'll do this innate next in that same land. So the first step says, because I do have 1 fire and 3 plant, add 1 Badlands. So this land is getting real dangerous. And then the second level says, destroy up to 2 explorers per token minus strife. So just like before, Badlands, beasts, disease, or wilds. So 2 explorers per token. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 qualifying tokens, so I can destroy up to 8 explorers. So I don't even know how many we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. And then this says here at the top, if this power destroys any explorers, 1 fear. And below that it says, if this power destroys 5 or more explorers, 1 additional fear. And we had 7, so we do get an additional fear for that. That is super cool. Oh, and then I've still got this power here that I haven't played. Oops, making a mess. So slow power, and it targets a spirit, so I can target myself, and it says target spirit chooses to either add 1 wilds to one of their lands or replace one of their presence with 1 disease. And so I think I'm going to add a wilds here. So wilds prevents an explore. So I'm not worried about either of those jungles anymore. Those are going to cure themselves. But I don't want this city to spawn more invaders inland, like I'm trying to push them to the coast. So let's try and keep them out of this land here. So that's all the slow power. So we go to time passes. So let's take these markers off, put this element marker back. These go in my discard pile. This Dahan heals. And we're ready for the next round. And I'm doing remarkably well. This is going great. Like, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here and see if I can maybe end it this turn. That would be fantastic. Although I need quite a bit more fear. I'm still at level 1. Well, we'll see. I'm going to start with this growth option, reclaim cards. So let's take all of these back. Which is just my 4 starting cards plus 1. Is it this one? Yeah, this one minor power that I picked up at some point, and gain 1 energy. And so I don't really have anything I can do about that city. Well, I guess I can try and trigger this third level of this innate to turn the city into 3 explorers and pull them inland. Maybe I can do something that way. But I was kind of thinking maybe I grab a major power card. I've kind of built up some energy here. And even if I can't play it right away, it kind of gives me something to aim for. So yeah, let's do that. Let's take a look at the top 4 major powers. 2, 3, 4. Because sometimes, these major powers, they all have elemental thresholds at the bottom. So if you know that there's one you want to play, then it might help you to go get some more minor powers with that in mind before it gets too late in the game. So if the jungle hungers, vanish softly away, forgotten by all, spill bitterness into the earth, and draw towards a consuming void. See, I knew it in that Nature Incarnate unboxing. I knew I recognized this card, so it must, the Nature Incarnate one must replace this one for some reason. I don't know what's different about it. And I think I'm going to keep the jungle hungers. It's not perfect for me. The elements are really good. I can definitely hit the bottom. The targeting is not great. So I can target a land that's range 1 from a jungle where I have presence. And I kind of wanted to go after this city. And the city is only adjacent to 1 jungle and it's coastal. So I can never have presence there. So I can never target this land with this power. But I might be able to target like this land. So maybe if I can pull some stuff into here. I don't know, it gives me strategically something to work towards. But I do have to forget a power now. And I'm going to forget this minor power. That I picked up earlier. So this is just permanently out of the game now because you always must forget a card when you gain a major power unless something specifies otherwise. So those were my 2 growth options. So now I gain 2 energy, which reminds me the other benefit of this card was, if I didn't say so, it only costs 3 energy, which is the minimum amount a major power will cost, I believe. Maybe it's 2. Maybe 2 is the minimum, but 3 is pretty low. Draw towards a consuming void. If I remember correctly, I think cost 8, and that's not something I would be able to do more than once. So let's figure out what 2 power cards I might want to play now. And I think I'm just going to play 1 card this time. I've got a long-term reason for it, so hopefully it makes sense. I kind of need this stuff next time is the short answer. So that costs 1 energy. I've got 1 moon plus 1 from my track here. So 2 moons, which means I at least get the first threshold of my left innate, but I won't trigger anything else. So we go to the fast phase. I don't have any fast powers, so now we need to resolve an event card. And again, this one asks healthy island or blighted island. We are still healthy, so we resolve sprawl contained by the wilds. On each board, add 1 wilds to a land without invaders. Build in the land with the most buildings, minimum 1. So on each board, add a wilds to a land without invaders. So there's an invader here, obviously. So I'm going to do this coastal sand. And since I've done the sand over here, I don't, there's an invader here. I don't want to do this sand too. I'll do this mountain and just sort of hedge my bets on these coastal lands. So 1 sand and 1 mountain, that should help somewhere. And then build on each board in the land with the most buildings, minimum 1 building. So there are no buildings over here, just an explorer, so I don't have to build. There is a building here, so I would build, but there's a disease token, so we just remove the token instead of building, which, in a land with a city like that, I think I'd rather leave the disease. And this part says on each board, destroy 2 explorers among lands with beasts, which is pretty cool, but there are no explorers and beasts in the same land on either board. And finally, we have lay ambushes. During Ravage, Dahan deal damage at the same time as invaders. So instead of counterattacking, it's just all simultaneous. So we'll leave this out so I don't forget. And then there are no fear cards to resolve, so we're going to go down here and we start with Ravage in the jungle. So we've got 1 here. So this guy does 1 damage and Dahan do 4 damage simultaneously, which doesn't really have an effect in this Ravage. But this guy's gone. And then exactly the same in this land here, and then there's nobody here. So I feel like this is a rare instance where it's really nice that these 2 lands were the same back to back, because now we would build in the jungle, but we've just cleared all the jungle, so we don't have anything to build. And so where are we going to explore? The mountains. Okay, so we explore this mountain. This one's adjacent to a building, so we don't explore it because there's a wilds token, but we remove the token. And then likewise down here, this coastal mountains, we remove this wilds. So that worked out pretty well. We don't need this reminder anymore. And now we can slide these down, discard, ravage in the jungle, build in the mountains. So now we go to the slow phase, and I'm going to resolve this innate first. So at range 1, a land with invaders, I can replace one explorer with one explorer. So I'll do that here in this sands, and then I can gather that explorer to these jungles here where I've got way more influence and ability to do something. And then we'll do this slow power here, Perils of the Deepest Island. So I choose a land at range 0, and I'm going to choose this land here, and I generate one fear, add one Badlands right there, add one beast within range 1, and I think I'll just put it in the same land. I'm trying to build it up to try and make it similar to this land where I might be able to pull stuff in and then use the tokens to my advantage. And then I can push up to 2 Dahan. So there's 1 Dahan there. I could push them, but I kind of think it might be handy to have the 1 Dahan there. I think I'd rather gather this one if I could to group them together. But yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it how it is. So that's it for the slow phase. So now time passes, so this gets discarded. I can take this token back. This Dahan heals, as does this one. And now we start another round and we're at growth. And so I'm going to add another presence, and surprised to myself, I'm going to go bottom track. I'm going to put it right here so I make another sacred site, because I think that mountains land is pretty important to me now, but I'm going to need that animal element, which is why I did that. And then I take this growth option here, so that's going to give me 2 energy. So let's again take a 3, get rid of 1, and 1 element. I'm going to take a plant, and now I go to my tracks, I gain 2 more energy. I am kind of flush with energy, and I can play up to 2 cards, and I'm going to play these 2. Which are both slow. This one costs 0. This one costs 2. And my elements, this was important, so I've got 1 plant as well. So I've got, for my track, 1 moon, 2 moon, 3 moon, 2 air, and then 1 animal now. So that's enough for tier 3 of this left innate, which should help me out with that city. And then I have 1, 2 plants, and that's it. So I get at least 1 part of this right innate. I don't get the first part because I need 3 plants and a fire, and I've only got 2 plants and a fire. But I get the second level, which only needs 2 plants. So I don't think I'm going to win this turn, but I think I'm going to get myself in a pretty good position. So we start with the fast phase. I have no fast powers this time. Slow, 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 slow. So I resolve another event. And we're still on a healthy island, so we have thriving trade. Oh no! On each board, add 1 city to a coastal land with a city. Well, there goes that plan. And then pestilence arrives on canvas sails. On each board, add 1 disease to the coastal land with the most buildings, minimum 1. So there are no buildings on any of these coastal lands, so only this land applies, so we add a disease there. And then it says, in that land, 3 damage to Dahan. So there are no Dahan there, so we don't have to worry about that. And then clever cooperation. Each spirit may push 1 of their presence from a land with Dahan and 2 damage in the land that they pushed to. Well, I would love to push from this land with Dahan into this coast, but my special rule here, Home of the Island's Heart, says your presence may only be added or moved to lands that are inland. I can never go to the coast, so as nice as that would be, I can't do it. So I guess the only thing I can do that has any effect is I can push from here to here and do 2 damage in this land and take out that explorer. So that's fine. I would have taken out that explorer in the slow phase anyway, because I would have ignored it using my other special rule during the ravage, and it still would have been there. And I don't know, now I can use that power for something else. We'll see. So overall, that first part, adding another city, that was detrimental. That's going to slow things down a little bit, but we don't have any earned fear cards still. I've done very little fear. So now we go to this portion. So we're going to ravage in the jungle, and we are empty across the board. And now build in the mountains. And this is the only mountains where we have any invaders. And we're just going to get rid of this disease token so we don't build. So we explore now in the sands. So we add an explorer to that coastal sand, and we remove this wilds. So that wilds did its job as well. So now we can shift these down. Okay. And now we are in the slow phase, and I can do a lot of things. So I'm going to start with this innate on this land, and I'm going to replace 1 city with 3 explorers. So I do that, and then I'm going to gather them into one of my lands like this. And if the target land still had any towns or cities remaining, 1 fear. So I get a fear for that. Then I'll do this power next. I'm going to target myself because you target any spirit. And the target spirit chooses to add a wilds to one of their lands or replace a presence with disease. And I'm going to add a wilds to this land here because I've really held off the invaders on this board and I don't need them working inland. We've got, level 2, 2, 2, and one more 2. So this is either going to be wetlands or coastal. If there's coastal, I can't be in the coast. There's nowhere I could use a wilds effectively. But if it's wetlands, that's one of my lands, and it's a wetlands that is potentially going to be explored. So that seems to make sense. So that was this power here. And now I'll use this one. It costs 2 energy. And range 0, inland land, I'm going to target here. And I can gather up to 2 explorers. So let's pull this one in. Gather up to 2 towns. There are no towns. Gather up to 2 beasts. Let's do that. Let's add a couple beasts in here. It's going to get crowded quick. And gather up to 2 Dahan. And I will take this one out of this sand and one from over here as well. It might be useful. I'm not sure. And then finally, I can do just the second tier of this one, which is destroy up to 2 explorers per natural token, anything but strife. So 1, 2, 3, 4 tokens. So I can destroy up to 8 explorers. There are 4 there, so they're all gone. And if this power destroys any explorers, gain 1 fear. So that earns us the next card. Gosh, that is only the second fear card. I still have another one to get to tier level 2. I'm not doing so hot on that front, I guess. But let's clean this up a little bit. And that is the end of the slow phase. So time passes. Take these tokens back, put this back. These get discarded. And there's nothing to heal out here. So now we are back to growth. Oh, and we push all this fear back into the pool. There we go. So what am I going to do now? I feel like I could really use some fast damage at range 1. I might start by gaining a power card, and then depending on what it is, I'll either reclaim or add a presence. So I'm going to gain 1 minor power card. I haven't really gained nearly as many as I usually do at this point with this spirit. All right, 4 power cards here. So we have Gift of Nature's Connection, Gnawing Root Biters, Disorienting Landscape, and Tormenting Rot Flies. And I'm going to take Disorienting Landscape. The elements are really good, and it can solve my 1 explorer problem over here. So I'm going to do a presence from the top track at range 4, and I'm just going to put it here in this wetlands, range 0, where I've already got a presence. Yeah, kind of simplified things for me. So now, go to my tracks, I gain 3 energy. Actually got a ton of energy. I can play up to 2 cards, and I will play these 2, which are both fast and cost 1 energy each. And I didn't even look at the elements. What does that do? Oh man, I'll be a moon short of being able to take care of that city. I got 2 moons and an air, and now I've unlocked another plant element on my track, so I have 1, 2, 3 plant and a fire, and then also the 2 plant here. I don't have the 4 plant and 1 animal. But that's pretty good. I think that'll help. So let's start with these fast powers. I'm going to take the energy off of these. So we're in the fast phase now. So starting with this one, range 2 from a sacred site. You can target any land. So from here, I'm going to target this land because that's a sacred site now. Target here and push 1 explorer. I'm going to push this explorer. I was going to go into the wetlands. Yeah, I better do that. Let's deal with this guy now. I don't want to go into the mountains and hope that the Ravage will take care of that because anything can happen with the event. And then the second part said if that target land is a mountain or jungle, add a wilds. But that's a sand, so I skipped that part. And now this one, range 0, fast inland land, which we're in an inland land, 2 fear, and then 1 damage per token. And we have 1 token here, so that does 1 damage and takes out that explorer. So it took me both of my card plays. It was kind of a long-winded way of doing 1 damage at range 1, but that works. I'm just so close to having an empty island and winning, but I can't quite cross that finish line. That city is infuriating. But now we resolve an event. Maybe the event will be kind. Outpaced. So this is another one with a decision. Humanity has always been faster than you, but the invader's terrifying speed catches you off guard. Each spirit chooses independently for each of their slow power cards played this turn. And it doesn't really matter what the options are. I didn't play any slow powers, so I don't have to worry about it. Specifically slow power cards, my innates are not affected. So I can skip right over that decision and go to Lingering Plagues. On each board, add one disease. Ignore disease during builds this invader phase. So I guess I'll add a disease there and there, even though I know it's not going to do anything here this time. That's still a good place to have a token. I might be able to use that to do some damage or something later. And then regarding this board, generally I try not put disease and Dahan in the same land because sometimes that could do some damage. So now we have raids and force. Each spirit chooses a different land where Dahan outnumber towns and cities, and each Dahan there does 1 damage. Man, that would have been useful if I could have used it. I'll leave this here so I don't forget not to build, or so I don't forget to build where there's disease. So now we resolve fear cards. We are at terror level 1 still. Each player may gather 1 town into a coastal land. Not helpful at all. But I guess at least I got a card out of the deck. So now we go down here. We're going to, Ravage in the mountains. So that's pretty simple. We just add a blight and then build in the sands, but there's no explorers in any of the sands, and explore the wetlands. And none of those are even eligible to be explored. So I'm just like, it's just at this weird equilibrium where I'm like nearly done. But we're about to go into phase 3, so I got to watch out. It's going to escalate here quickly. I can get rid of this event card, and I still have my 2 slow innates now because we're in the slow phase. But this one doesn't do anything. It would only affect explorers or towns, and there are none. And this one won't really do anything either, except I can add a Badlands at range 0 somewhere. And I mean, why not pile it on there, right? So time passes. These get discarded. There's nothing to heal out here. So we go back to growth. How can I possibly close this thing out? Well, for starters, I certainly need to reclaim all of my cards. So let's take that growth option. And then I also gain 1 energy. There we go. And I'm going to take this growth option with an air element, and I gain 2 energy. And now I go to my tracks, and I gain 3 energy. I guess I should have just taken another major power, huh? Look at all that energy. That's ridiculous. Well, that's what I'll do next time if it comes down to that. But I'm going to play these 2 cards with air. I need 2 energy. Why don't I just take a 3? No, I don't need to make change. I got plenty going on here. 2 energy. Okay. Oh, no, that won't work. I've only got 3 air. I thought I would have 4. I was trying to really future-proof this. All right, yeah, let's back up. I'm going to return the 2 energy that I got from this growth option. Push these back. I've already gotten this energy, but I am going to take this other growth option. I'm going to take another major power. Maybe I can get something that'll matter. All right, 4 cards here. 4 majors. Let's see what we've got. Infestations of venomous spiders, blazing renewal, thickets erupt with every touch of breeze, and focus the land's anguish. Man, and none of these help me. This one is really good. It seems made for this spirit, but it can only target inland, and like I really need to target that coastal land. So we'll just say that I picked that one, and then the card that I forget in order to gain this major is also this one. Super disappointing. So that was kind of a wasted growth option. I've already gained my 3 energy, so now I play 2 cards, sands, 2 energy, and 1 element. All right, so I'll go back to the cards that I originally chose, pay 2 energy for this one. And so I have 1, 2, 3 moons, 2 air, and an animal. So I do have this 3rd tier that'll let me take care of that city. I have 1, 2 plants, and a fire. I guess I could have had a 3rd plant if I had stuck with my original plan, but I don't. So, okay, 2 plants. I've got that at least. So everything is slow. We need to resolve an event. Rising interest in the island, another decision one. Your island is unlike any the invaders have seen. Their leaders begin to take interest in tales of strangeness. You may ignore the curiosity or weave lies in the minds of their observers. And so the first option is return the top card of the invader deck to the box, and then on each board, add a town to a land without a town. The other option is 4 energy is the cost per player, aided by air. So I've got 1, 2 air, and plenty of energy to pay for it. I return the top fear card to the box, and then during the next ravage, each town or city does extra damage. That sounds much better to me. We're going to take that second option. So 4 energy, aided by air. I've got 1, 2 air, so I need to pay 2 more. Now we return the top fear card to the box. And that instantly gets us to terror level 2. So now to win, we just need to get rid of all the buildings. That's going to make it way easier. In fact, I should win basically right away. So thank goodness for that. What else do we do? Beasts of the jungle. On each board, add one beast to a jungle without blight. One fear if invaders are present. So we can do these coastal jungles, but there are no invaders, so no fear. And then traps and snares. On each board, add one wilds to a land with Dahan. Well, on this board, we're going to go here. And on this board, we'll go down here because there's only one Dahan down there. So we can get rid of that. There's no fear cards to resolve. So we go down here, we ravage in the sand, which is all empty. We build in the wetlands, which are all empty. And we explore the jungles and the sands. All right. So that's going to be this jungle, this sand, and this sand, but not this jungle. We just removed the wilds that we just added, but it did its job. Oops, and I discarded that one too far. Okay, so now we go to the slow phase and we can close this thing out. So this left innate, range 1, land with invaders. I can replace one city with 3 explorers. And I could gather them into one of my lands and then use my other innate to destroy them. But at this point, there are no towns and no cities left on the board, so we immediately achieve victory. So there you go. That was Horizons of Spirit Island using the expansions Branching Claw, Feather and Flame, and Jagged Earth. Jagged Earth was the most substantial, but Branching Claw may have added some of the cards that we saw. And Feather and Flame, I think the only contribution it could have made was maybe some fear cards. So I don't know if we saw any of that, but it's possible. But that's what it looks like, combining all that stuff using archipelago mode and multiple boards, multiple island boards, I mean, for a solo game. So there's a few different things I demoed there. I think most of all, I just made Lure of the Deep Wilderness look ineffectual. I think I got a benefit when I uncovered that animal the first time, but maybe I should have just pushed this track one more time and had 4 energy in the air. Maybe that would have, maybe I would have been better off with that extra air. I don't know, but I just couldn't seem to get rid of that last city or generate any fear. And that's unusual. Usually I generate a lot of fear with Lure. I can sometimes get through the fear deck and just get a fear victory that way. So I almost felt like that one is gonna, at least in the video, seem a little bit boring because I mostly had it under control the whole time. That is not typical. It usually builds up a bit more and it's a little more exciting, but that's okay. I think I played pretty decent. Either that or I just played really inefficiently, and that's why that was the result. But yeah, that spirit Lure of the Deep Wilderness is from Jagged Earth. It's one of my favorite spirits, and it's a moderate complexity. I really like that one. And I hadn't really used archipelago mode before, but I might use it again. That was neat. It was just a little bit different. But let me know what you think in the comments. If there's a particular spirit you'd like to see or a particular board or combination of something, let me know. I am not an expert at this game. I enjoy it, but this is not the place for strategy advice. There are other places for that. So if there's just something that you're curious about and you kind of want to see, let me know. But if there's like something that you're stuck on and you can't beat a particular combination, I might not be the guy. just to be upfront with you on that. But I have noticed more interest in Spirit Island videos lately, so I can certainly play more Spirit Island videos. I'm happy to do that. Just let me know what it is you'd like to see, and I'll do my best to make it happen. Otherwise, if you're still here and you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing. That would really go a long way for me. And then again, if you like this sort of content, please like it and leave some comments so that I know to make more of it. But that's what I've got for you this time on Table for One. Thank you so much for watching. I had an awesome time. I hope you enjoyed it too, and I will see you in the next video.